Welcome back to Kids Church. It's Auntie Audrey here, and I'm looking forward to digging into the book of Joshua with you. Have you been promised something and then had to wait until you finally got it? Perhaps Mum promised that you could play games on the family computer after dinner because she wouldn't be working on it any longer. However, you fought with your brother, made a mess in the bedroom, and broke the garage window playing handball that day. Could you be sure that you'd still get to play on the computer after dinner? Well, yes, you can be sure that you'll play on the computer because your mum made a promise and is keeping it. She promised computer time. It didn't depend on whether you'd done your homework or practiced your piano or done your chores. You didn't have to work for your computer time. Your mum had made you a promise. This is the same with God's promise. In today's passage, God tells his people he'll give the land to his people. He will give it to them because he has promised it to them. They will get the land as their new home, regardless of how strong they are or how well they fight. Imagine you are a child in God's nation, Israel, many, many years ago, wandering around the desert. Each day, God shows you where to go by following his cloud by day and following his pillar of fire by night. Food and water are hard to find in the dry, hot desert, but God provides bread called manna and quail birds from the sky for you to collect and eat each day. Whenever it is time to rest, you need to set up the family tent. Grandpa has taught you about how God made 3 big promises to Abraham. That Israel will become a great nation, that God will give them the land of Canaan, and that the whole world will be blessed through Abraham's family. Grandma has told you how God rescued Israel from slavery in Egypt and brought everyone through the Red Sea, and that one day you'd reach the promised land of Canaan, and it will be Israel's new home. The land of Canaan is beautiful with plenty of food, milk, honey, huge fruit. It sounds amazing. But can you be sure that you can enter the promised land? As we read the book of Joshua, we will see that God will surely give his people the promised land through his chosen leader, Joshua. You can be sure because God has promised to give the land of Canaan to his people. Israel has done nothing to deserve it, and they certainly haven't worked for it. The Bible tells us that God promises to give us land too, but it's not a physical place that we can see. It is a heavenly home. God rescues us from sin so he can bring us to a heavenly home where we can live as God's people under God's rule. It is a wonderful place of rest. What is rest? Rest is when you're at peace. You're not working, you're not worried or scared about anything. Our heavenly home is a place of rest because there's no sin or death, no sickness or pain, no fighting. God has promised that everyone who trusts in Jesus will be able to enter his land, a home in heaven where God's people can enjoy peace and rest with God. Are you sure that you'll enter heaven and enjoy peace and rest with God? In Joshua chapter 1, we will see that we can be sure that God will give his people the land he promised them. So let's go back to the Kids Church Padlet to watch video 2 to find out what happens in the first chapter of Joshua. Please read along using Joshua chapter 1 on your worksheet.